Welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast. Well, hi everybody. How's it going? Episode 4 of the Dram Amateur Podcast. Thank you guys all for joining. I certainly appreciate it. My name is Jason. You can find me on Instagram under @thedramamateur, spelled correctly. But hey, thanks for joining for episode 4. Appreciate it. Busy week for me this week. I got to travel for work next week too. So it's currently Saturday, the week before I'll publish this one. And I actually have nothing to do today except go to a party tonight. I'm not mad about that. As an adult with a busy life and 3 kids, I am not mad about Saturdays like that. So it was really weird. I woke up this morning. It was foggy outside, like real foggy. Took my time, had a couple cups of coffee, took care of my plants. I in the summertime, I grow tomato plants and then different types of peppers. Not even tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes. So I do like cherry tomatoes, and I started doing yellow pear cherry tomatoes this year, which is fun. And I grew poblano peppers, jalapeno peppers, and banana peppers. Holy cow. Wow, I'm not awake yet. That coffee hasn't hit yet. I need more coffee. But yeah, this year's been fun. So maintained some tomato plants, picked off some hornworms, which is good, so they don't eat my plants. I don't have a big yard. I have a decent sized yard, not a big one. I live in a modest sized house and plot. I sound like I'm Amish. My plot is modest size. But anyway, I grow them in 5-gallon buckets, so it's kind of fun. I started this a couple years ago and have really knocked it out of the park. I struggle to do big tomatoes. I struggle to do anything big because the nutrients in the soil aren't there to maintain the plant for the entire time. So I do them in 5-gallon buckets. Next year, I am changing the tomatoes to a 10-gallon bucket. I found 10-gallon trash bins, heavy-duty trash bins on Amazon, and I bought those. So next year, I'll be doing the tomatoes in 10-gallon trash bins. The root systems on the tomatoes really need more soil, and they are very robust, and they struggle in the 5-gallon bucket when it starts to get hot to maintain to hold all the water in and keep it good. And plus they blow over when it gets windy outside. My gosh, if a storm blows through, I've got to you should see me. I'm running through the house like a sprinter, down the stairs, out the door, moving buckets underneath the patio or against the house so they don't blow over. I'm getting soaking wet. It's thunder, lightning. I did it 3 times this week, 3 times. And I hate being outside when there's lightning. I'm like, this is the way I'm going to die one day, is probably get struck by lightning. So yeah, I did that this morning. That was fun. Got that done. Picked some stuff off too, which was good. Trimmed the plants up, so they're looking good. Last year it was funny. Real quick story. I always grow jalapenos. Jalapenos, all spicy smaller peppers or just smaller peppers grow really, really well in a 5-gallon bucket. Last year, I grew ghost peppers, habanero peppers, and jalapeno peppers. And I have this thing where I candy jalapeno peppers. Everybody has tried to match my recipe. It has still not been accomplished yet, nor will it ever be accomplished. But anyways, a little pride there. Sorry, let me take a minute for the pride to sink in. Okay. But I made them last year. Well, it was funny. I was candying all the jalapenos I did and all the habaneros I had and a ton of ghost peppers too. And when I was doing the ghost peppers, I started struggling to breathe. So I had done the jalapenos first. I candied those. I candied them and shelf stabled, canned them. So that was really cool. But when I did the habaneros too, and everything was fine. But when I did the the ghost peppers, I started to struggle to breathe. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I was coughing and stuff like that. And I finally realized that I was legitimately probably making mace because I was boiling the ghost peppers in the solution, and the steam coming up from the oils and the ghost peppers and the spice and everything. I was struggling to breathe. Well, my daughter came home and she walked in, and it instantly hit her. Like, she was like, "Dad, I can't breathe." So like my wife started like coughing, and like she's like, "I'm struggling to breathe too." I'm like, "Oh my gosh," their eyes were irritated. So like we had to open all the windows, fumigate the house. And I just got done like candying them. So like it took a while to like kind of get through the house, but man, it was hysterical. But I still have jars of candied habaneros, candied ghost peppers. The candied jalapenos go so fast because it's kind of cool the way that I do it. The jalapenos are still spicy, but it kind of knocks the spice down a little bit. So they're really, I mean, I'll tell you right now, like, they are on a sandwich, on a burger, like just as a side, like pickles, right? Man, people eat those things like cheese and crackers. Oh my gosh. Like people love them. I have sold them before. I did very, very good at just like a neighborhood, like farmer's market. But the problem is that it takes a long time to make them. I think I made 20 jars one day. And it took me the whole day. It took me 10 hours. And it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work the way that you have to do it and the process for it. So I don't do them that often. And I find in the summertime, if I have a lot of them in the summertime, I'll just cold can them. So I'll mix up the solution. I'll do it all, put them in the jar, seal the jar up, let it sit out, cool down. And then I'll just stick it in the fridge, and they're good for like 3 months. And trust me, none of them last past 3 months. But anyways, so I have jars left over of habanero and ghost. I have so many of them. I think I have probably 3 or 4 of each. I say so many, but that's a lot to me. And the last bourbon the last get together I had with Jerome and Michael and Jordan, not Michael Jordan. Somebody told me the other day, "You know Michael Jordan?" I said, "It's Michael, Jordan, not Michael Jordan." Michael and Jordan. Michael tried one of the candied ghost peppers, I think. I think I saw Michael's soul leave his body that day. It was something else. The poor guy, I mean, and Michael is the guy that like he's a hot sauce. So Michael loves hot sauce. And Michael loves spicy food. He makes fantastic salsa. Michael's a really, makes some really good stuff. He likes spicy food. So like we've been over Michael's, and he has a ton of different hot sauces, and we've tried them. I've tried the Last Dab from the hot ones on YouTube. And the Last Dab is hot, trust me, but it's not terrible. It's honest to God, not terrible. But yeah, so Michael tried being the badass that Michael is. Michael tried the ghost pepper. Man, I like I said, I think I saw Michael's soul leave his body that day. So from that, and the jar's still open in my fridge, and I refuse to open it. I refuse to touch it. I don't know what I was thinking with growing habaneros and ghost peppers. I really don't. Dude, it was cool to watch them grow and to watch them change colors, and to have them. But man, I don't know what you use them. I think he used the habaneros. I think he used a couple of the habaneros in his salsa, which he really, really enjoyed. It kind of tones it down, obviously. But those 2 peppers are just so spicy. So I probably won't ever grow them again. If anybody wants a jar of candied habaneros or candied ghost peppers, please reach out to me on Instagram, dram_amateur. I will happily ship you a can of them. I am probably going to have you sign a waiver. I am not going to take responsibility if they're terrible, because obviously it's the first time using that recipe on them. So I don't know how they did, but they're spicy. They're insane spicy. So, and this year with the banana peppers, I've been with the banana peppers and the jalapenos. I only did 1 batch of candied jalapenos, which I cold canned and put in the fridge. I haven't even tried them yet. I actually did some poblanos in that batch as well to try those. But The banana peppers have been fun. They change color to orange, so I've screwed around and let a couple of them change orange in the plant, which I know sucks the life out of the plant and it impacts you from getting more peppers. I get all that. But I've been playing around with different pickling recipes. Not shelf stable canning them, but cold canning them, sticking them in the fridge. And man, I did a sweet pickling one, which I didn't like. But I did. I've been mixing the banana peppers with the jalapeno peppers and pickling them, man. But taking the seeds out of the jalapeno, so you get the pickle, but you don't get the punch of the jalapeno. So it's just got this like light spiciness. Man, they are. You want like a snack or like something to eat with a sandwich? They're fantastic. So, anyways, this is not a pickle podcast. Or not a pickle. This is not a pepper podcast, but I just wanted to share that because I'm like sitting here on a Saturday with nothing to do. I'm also going to go ahead and do bottle maintenance today. So I wonder how many of you guys actually do this. I always see videos on Instagram about bottle maintenance, and I know it's a thing. So now that I have when my bottles were actually in bins before, so if you haven't listened to the first few episodes, I used to have bins, like gigantic plastic bins I used to keep all my liquor in, except for what I had downstairs in my liquor cabinet, which can probably hold, I don't know, 50 to 75 bottles, maybe. I finally bought a shelf, and if you ever want a picture or go back and look at my Instagram, I think there's a picture on there. But with the shelf now, everything's out and everything's accessible, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It's freaking awesome. I love it. I love having access to everything. I've cracked bottles that I hadn't cracked in a long time. I also get the guilt because I look at it and go, I really don't need any more liquor. To be honest with you, my liquor purchases have significantly decreased over the last several months, because it's now there's boxes on the floor for some of the doubles, and now the boxes on the floor are full, and the bottles are starting to creep out onto the carpet, and I'm just like, nope. I gotta chill. I gotta figure this thing out. I gotta stop buying bottles. So I'm very choosy with what I buy right now. That's the story behind it. But with having the bottles on the shelf, and on the floor and in the boxes, there's bottle maintenance that has to be done. So I've seen videos of people taking a cloth and dusting the bottles and wiping the bottles down, and then obviously turning the bottles upside down so the cork gets wet before it's sitting back on the shelf. I've got to do that today. I have nothing else to do today except to go to a party tonight. So I'm like, hey, what the heck? Why not? I might as well do bottle maintenance. My wife's not even home. She's getting her hair did. So I said, what the heck? I might as well do that. So I'm going to crank some tunes and I'm going to do some bottle maintenance. And actually the bottle maintenance exercise, I think, is going to go into episode 5, which I'm not going to tell you about. I'm not going to give you any kind of hints or anything, but I think it's going to go into episode 5. Because I think I've got some ideas for episode 5. So that's been fun. So that's what my plans are today. Otherwise, let's be honest. Let's be dead honest. If I didn't do that today, if I didn't have these plans, does anybody want to guess what I would be doing? Did you like the dead air there? Like I let you like yell out a guess. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I'd be hunting. Yeah, I'd be out hunting. And to be honest with you, with the amount of time that I had available this morning, knowing what time liquor stores open, and knowing that my wife won't be back from her appointment in a long time, and knowing that I had nothing to do except to party at 5 o'clock tonight, I probably would have went to Chattanooga and probably would have hunted by myself up there. I probably would have got up at the crack of dawn, been out there for the first store opening at 9 and hunted. So this is the smarter choice. I get to stay home, save money, talk to you guys, right? Have some fun, and have a great time today. So anyway, today let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So this episode might run long. I'm already looking at the clock, going, "Damn, dude, you were a talker this morning." So today we're going to talk about a few new releases that I've seen because you guys are all flexing on Instagram. The jealousy level's a little high, so congrats to you guys who have been flexing lately. I'm pretty jealous, but I'm going to talk to you guys about a chance encounter with another Instagrammer that I quote unquote met him, but quote unquote did not meet him. Pretty funny story. And then if we have time, I'm going to get into one more story. That'll be the bonus story if we have time. If not, maybe it's going into the next episode. So we'll see. But anyway, so new releases lately. Gosh, you guys have been like mad flexing. It's pretty insane. A little jealous on this side. Some of you guys have gotten the new Jack Daniels release, the twice barreled rye. I've seen it for insane prices already. But I also know some of you got it for pretty good price. So congrats to you guys that have scored that. I know I've seen some of you guys with the new Woodford Reserve batch proof. I think it's like 126.3 or something like that. That's good. That's congrats to you guys. Listen, some of you are still dragging in JD10s and JD12s, which congrats to you guys. Some of them you guys purchased out in stores. Some of you won in raffles. Congrats to all of you that had that. I saw that Mr. Given today on Instagram. If you guys don't follow Mr. Given, definitely follow him. I think it's Mr._Given, if I'm not mistaken. He found a Old Forester single barrel proof rye. I think it was a Warehouse K floor 7. So congrats to you, man. That's awesome. I actually recently purchased one too. I think mine's a Warehouse K floor 2 or 3. But man, it's fantastic. It's delicious. So props to all you guys that are finding those cool bottles. Pretty neat that you guys are finding those special releases. I'm not out hunting enough, and to be honest right now, if I get lucky enough and stumble on one, I'll be excited. If I don't know if I'm going to care that much. And I'll have hopefully samples of somebody's to give it a try. But we'll just see. We'll see how lucky I get. I'll be excited if I find one. Little other fun story. Let me pull the bottle as I'm looking at it. Last night, I went back to my Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye that I had recently got. It had been well over a month since I opened it and shared it with some people. Mine is number barrel number 2304052, bottled on 4/19/23, barrel house 203. Mine comes in at a whopping 131.5 proof, which I know is kind of mid-range for these from what I'm starting to see. But what I have heard is that a lot of these are so vastly different between all the bottles, which is kind of fun. But I had mine again last night, and boy, I'm going to tell you something. It was interesting. It drinks like wasabi. I don't know how else to describe it, but when I take a sip of it, it goes straight to my sinuses and my nose like wasabi does. It's crazy. It's fantastic. But I don't know if it was summertime or what it was, but I was struggling to get through. I wasn't struggling to get through the glass, but it just drinks very hot, and it's that wasabi punch to it. So I had to add some drops last night. So I think I had 1.5 ounces left in the glass. I add 3 drops of water. It was really, really good with that. And I don't normally do that with whiskey or bourbon, I should say, or anything I drink. But that thing, I just needed something on it. And then I did another 2-ounce pour of it last night and did 5 drops of water, and it's fantastic. The water totally helped it. It cut down that wasabi punch, and you got through to everything else within that glass. And it's fantastic. So, it was funny. I was joking with a couple people. I'm like, man, I had to be a wuss. I had to add water to it. And they're like, no shame in that. But yeah, it was really, really good. So that's going to have to be a 5-drop, 2-ounce pour, 5 drops of water, 4 drops of water. Maybe when the wintertime comes, I'll let it sit. But that's something, that bottle, that will remain on my shelf all the time. So when that bottle goes or gets close to the end, I'll be buying another one. So, but that's fantastic. So, all right, so let's jump into some stories. So recently now, a month now. Gosh, it may have been more than a month. When did it? No, it was July. It was the 4th of July weekend. Yeah, it was 4th of July weekend. It's been more than a month. Man, time flies. I went out to go hunting on a Friday by myself. I had the Friday off from work. And I went to go out hunting, and I headed out about an hour to an hour and a half from my house, and went to go out toward the Johns Creek, Gwinnett area of Georgia, and did some hunting out there. It was great. I wanted to see if I could hit up a couple stores to find some things I was looking for. I didn't really have anything in particular in mind that I was like exclusively looking for, but definitely was excited to head out. So I went out, and that day I ended up hitting, 12 stores. Yeah, 12 stores. I hit 12 stores in about a few hour period. Didn't really have any luck at the first 11 stores. I did buy a bottle at one of the stores. That was really, really fun. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. But hunting's fun, right? Hunting can be hit and miss sometimes with it. You can have good days and bad days. And I think when I started hunting, I was buying everything. I was buying a lot of things and spent a ton of money. And now, and I used to be kind of disappointed if I didn't find anything. And now it's just, I don't know. It's kind of fun. I go and see if I find things that are hard to find that I'd like to have. Of course, because I have now, Armagnac and tequila and rum and bourbon or rye or whatever you want to say. There obviously have a ton of options, which is fantastic. So I don't go just hunting for one thing. It takes me a little bit of time in liquor stores, which is fun. So that's why I want to go back up to Chattanooga, because now it's like, oh man, I've got, this whole vast array of things I can search for. And I haven't really been up to Chattanooga since I started getting into tequila too. So definitely something to have some fun with. But yeah, so I went out and just didn't really have anything on the list to look for. But like I said, hunting back then, like I would be disappointed if I didn't find anything. But now it's kind of just fun to just go. I always try to find a decent place to stop for lunch and have a really good lunch. Find a place that has some pours and have some really good pours. The Chips of Chattanooga are always filled with kind of those lunch breaks with good liquor in between, good burgers, good pizza, good food, whatever it might look like that day. But yeah, now I'm just like, if I don't find anything, I don't find anything, right? It's just fun to be out. It's fun to see what people have in their shelves or in their stores that I may not purchase because of either I don't want it, but price. It's very much like yard sailing, right? Or antiquing, or what's the other thing? Like estate sales, right? You're always going to see what somebody has, and like other people's junk. They say one man's junk's another man's treasure. Right? One person's bottle of bourbon or booze they're selling is somebody else's treasure. So different people treasure different things. So this day, yeah, I hit up 12 stores around that area. I started in Johns Creek, topped over to the other side of 85, and then hopped down to Peachtree Corners, and then back up to Johns Creek. So hit up 12 stores in that time. Didn't really see, there was a lot I saw. Don't get me wrong. There's obviously a ton of bottles out there, but man, secondary pricing on a lot of them. Things I don't want. I'm not paying crazy amounts of stuff. I still keep passing. For example, I still keep passing in a bottle of JD12 for $2.50. It's just ridiculous, man. I'm not paying that much. I know how much the bottle is, and it's just not worth it. So I ended up, my furthest store that I ended up at was Branded Barrel over in Gwinnett County, on the other side of 85, and I popped in there, and I had been talking to some people on Instagram in between stores, because what I was doing was I was going out. I was like, this is Instagram worthy, right? So I was going out, I was taking pictures of myself in front of the store with the name of the store on it and putting a number with it. So like 1, 2, 3. So that day you could follow me and see I hit 12 stores, each with a number on it. So, fun times. And as I was going out further east, I was talking to people on Instagram, on DM, right? And talking to them, and I was talking to Nerds and Burbs. And I remember I was at one store. I don't remember what store it was. I think it was World Beverage. Yeah, it was World Beverage in Duluth. I think it's in Duluth. And I was there, and I took a picture, and he's like, hey, that's awesome. You're getting closer to me. Hope you're having a good time, blah, blah, blah. And didn't really think anything of it. I hadn't told anybody where I was going or what my plans were or anything. So I ended up looking at the map and finding two other stores out. I think it's on 120 going east. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just keep driving out. And the Branded Barrel one didn't seem far away. Traffic was light because it was a Friday before holiday. Kids were out of school. So I was like, I'll drive out that way. That'll be the furthest I drive, and I'll head back. So I did. So I stopped at one more store on the way out there and then stopped at Branded Barrel. And I walked into Branded Barrel and was pretty impressed with the store. I was a little disappointed they didn't have as many store picks as I would have liked to see. But it was still cool. It's still a cool store. So I walked in and was searching around the bourbon aisle. And no, I'm sorry. I started in the rum aisle when I walked in. Walked in the rum aisle. And this is like, was this before? No, this is when I had like tequila too. So I went down the rum aisle, went down the tequila aisle. And I always save bourbon for last because I know right now what I like in bourbon. And like you gotta really wow me if I really want bourbon right now. I have so much bourbon, and I feel like I have a decent variety. I'm like super duper picky. So I went into those two aisles, and then I hit up the bourbon aisle. And man, the store was dead quiet. I mean, there was like 4 people in the store. It was before lunch. It was 10:30, 10:15. It was early. But I remember I hit the bourbon aisle from the back of the store. And the aisles are long and the shelves are tall, right? It's a little dark it's not dark. It's just the lighting's not like the best, right? And there was some other dude at the end of the aisle. And we kind of made our way toward each other, in the middle, right? And this is one of these things and maybe it's just me, right? This is one of those things with like meeting another dude in a store that you don't know, right? And you want to spark up a conversation. Well, what can you say? How do you approach it? How do you not seem like a douche? Like, man, it's just weird, right? You don't know the dude. You have no idea who the hell it is. So like, I remember we crossed paths and I said, excuse me, or I walked behind him or something like that. We really didn't say anything to each other at all. And again, the whole time you're like, what's he looking at? What's he buying? What's he pulling off the shelf? I think he was looking at a Redwood Empire. I think they had the cask strength ones with the forest green. And I'm pretty sure that he picked up a bottle of it. And I was going to say, oh man, have you had those yet? They're really good. I've heard great. I have the Pipe Dream one. I heard it's fantastic. Great. You always like see this kind of like you see him pick up a bottle and you want to spark up a conversation about, but at the same time, you don't want, I don't know, man. It's just, you don't want to deal with like the backlash that they're like, don't talk to me, or they act weird about it. Or they're like, no, this bottle's trash. How can you even like this? I want to throw it into the ground. Your tastes suck. Or you convince somebody or you talk to somebody and share your feedback, and then they buy a bottle and they effing hate it, and you feel guilty. Like, I'll never see the guy again, probably, right? But you're like, oh Jesus, whatever. So I don't know. It's just this really weird like vibe, right? And you just don't know what you're gonna get when you talk to somebody. So I remember walking out of the bourbon aisle. And I went to the glass shelf that they had, the glass case they had, and they had a whole bunch of stuff in there. They had some cool things in there, but they had they had a Tequila Ocho Reposado finished in Widow Jane barrels, which was one of the things I had been looking for. I had actually purchased it online from an online retailer, and the online retailer had not shipped my order in 21 days. And I was like, nope. Bump this. I'm canceling the order. I canceled the order and I never got it. So I was a little disappointed. So when I saw that bottle, I jumped on it. Price was like perfect. I was like, that's awesome. So I snagged it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go give one more pass down the bourbon aisle just to make sure I didn't miss any cool store picks that were hiding or anything like that. So I went back down the bourbon aisle and dude was still there. And again, weird situation. You don't know what to say. And I think he was pulling off a Larceny barrel proof at the time. And I don't remember what batch it was. But he was pulling off a Larceny barrel proof. So I went down that aisle. I think I made another run down the rum aisle. And then we both ended up in line. So he was in front of me. I was behind him. He bought the larceny. Still didn't strike up a conversation with him. And then I think I ended up getting checked out like by another register because there was a line starting to form. So like we almost walked out of the store at the same time together. I mean, I think we were 25 steps behind each other. And so he got, and we were parked in the very front of the parking lot, like up against the road, because the store's a little off the road. We were the only cars parked, and we're like 4 spaces between each other. Like literally, like when he got in his car, I could have looked over to him. He could have looked over to me. We could have like seen each other, waved to each other, rolled down windows, said hi, whatever, right? So that's how close we were to each other. So I pulled my bottle out because I was pretty stoked about it. Took a picture of it, put it on the gram in my stories, and then took off. Well, it's funny because literally 20 minutes later, I get to my next store, maybe 15 minutes later, and I have a DM from Nerds and Burbs. And he's like, dude, that was you? So come to find out, Nerds and Burbs, somebody I've been talking to for a while, even before this trip, right? And come to find out, that was Nerds and Burbs in the freaking aisle at the Branded Barrel. And we didn't say a damn word to each other. We didn't know who the hell each other was. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, that is insane. I'm like, how the hell does something like that happen, right? Honest to God, like, how the hell do you like live in completely different portions of the state of Georgia and then just end up at the same liquor store at the same time, in the same aisle, crossing paths with each other, checking out together, walking out together? It's just so freaking weird. But he's just like, dude, he's like, if I would have known that was you, I would have said something. I'm like, dude, vice versa. He's like, I always like wear my Nerds and Burbs shirts out normally, or my hat when I go out. He's like, I didn't wear it today. And I'm like, man, if you would have worn it, I would have asked about it because obviously I know you. So it's just really weird how like you... And I think he told me too, he's like, I wanted to say something and spark up a conversation, but I didn't know what to say. And it was funny because I think I felt the same way. So it was hysterical. I was just like, it's just funny how you can live in separate parts of the state of Georgia, be in a store at the same time in the same damn aisle, not say a damn thing to each other. And like somebody that you talk to on Instagram all the time, that was that person. So I told him, I said, dude, we got to get back together sometime. Him and I have agreed on a trade here. I think the Friday before Labor Day weekend, we're going to meet up somewhere, and exchange those bottles and finally get to meet each other, like officially meet each other. I think we've unofficially met each other, but we haven't officially met each other. So it's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny story. Chance encounter, right? I still, like I told him, I'm like, now I've like seen you, but haven't met you. I'm like kind of weird and kind of odd, but it's funny how the world works, you know? So that was a good story. I think I've got a little bit of time to tell you about my other story. And it's actually my bottle pour today. So if I don't do it, then I'm not going to have a bottle pour. Oh, that's not good. Okay. All right. I promise to pour every single day. All right. So story number 2. I don't remember how, but on Instagram, I follow my local town's bourbon society, which has 0 activity on it. Okay, I'm exaggerating with 0. I'll say 1 post a quarter or 1 post every 6 months. Like there's zero activity on it. I don't remember how I came across it. I was scrolling through Instagram one time. It was in the afternoon. I remember that because it was right after work when I ended up going. But there was a post by a woman that had said, hey, we're moving and I can't take all this stuff with me. I need somebody to pick it up. Just message me and we can arrange it. And it was a picture of a ton of bourbon. I mean, a absolute ton of bourbon. I couldn't really see what was in there. And to be honest with you at the time, this was back in June of last year. And to be honest with you at the time, I really didn't care. I was just interested. I was like, all right. So I PM'd her and I'm like, interested, PMing you now. I was like the very first post and it had been up for like 20 to 30 minutes. Like nobody else saw it. So I PM'd her. And I was like, hey, how much do you want for it? She's like, nope, not selling it. We're moving. I don't feel like carting all this stuff to my new house. Just come get it. And I'm like, really? I can't give you any money for it. I didn't know what there was bottle wise, but I'm sure I could have negotiated something. She's like, nope, just come get it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm in the same town you are. So like, how quickly do you want me to come? She's like, sooner the better. And I'm like, this is a really weird situation, right? So I was like, okay. I was all excited. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm leaving here in 10 minutes. I'll see you soon. And it was like a 15-minute drive to her house. So I told my wife, I'm like, is this weird? And she's like, kind of yes. But she's like, it's all on Facebook. She's like, take screenshots, send it to me. She's like, if something happens to you, then I can show the cops. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we're literally preparing for me to like get mugged again. This is like the other episode where the guy wanted me to walk into his house. Here I am about to walk up to some lady's house. But I was like, okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go. If something happens, I'll let you know, like call the police. Like, I just feel weird. So as I got in the car, I was all excited, drove over. I had a little cash on me just in case. Like, I don't know, man. I felt guilty, like, taking all those bottles and not giving her anything for it. And again, I didn't know what the bottles were, but that's beside the point. So I drove to her house. The whole entire time I'm driving to her house, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm about to be on, like, that Chris Harris show that used to be on NBC, To Catch a Predator. I'm a bourbon predator, not a child predator. No, yeah, don't get me wrong. But To Catch a Predator. I'm like, I'm going to go in and the ATF or whoever, the FBI or whoever arrests people for this is going to be in her house. I'm going to walk in. They're going to handcuff me. I'm going to go to jail. Or some dude's going to be sitting at the kitchen table and they're going to be like, sit down. Son, do you have a problem? I have like Dr. Phil's going to be like, it's time to get royal. You have a problem, son, with bourbon that you have to come pick up free whiskey from some woman that posted on Facebook? Yeah, that's what I was literally like wondering if it's going to happen. But so I drove over, lived in a nice house, nice neighborhood, right? So I'm like, okay, a little less scammy, but still a little worried. Knock on her door. No, all I hear is kids screaming. Knock on the door, no answer. I'm like, oh my God. Next thing I know, knock on the door again. Some kid who's naked with just a diaper on answers the door. And I'm like, what in the hell? I'm like, hey, is your mom home? This woman comes running to the door, frazzled. She's like, oh my God, put your clothes on. Why answering the door? Blah, blah, blah. And she's got kids running everywhere in the house. She got 3 kids. They're screaming and jumping and acting crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what am I getting myself into? And I'm like, hey, I'm Jason. I'm like, I messaged you. She's like, hey, come on in. And the stuff was all on the left-hand side inside her house in the dining room on a table. She's like, all right. She's like, all of this is good to go except for those 4 bottles over there. There was like an Elijah Craig 23 in the 4 bottles. I remember that. And I was just like, get it packaged up. I brought boxes. I brought everything I possibly could. I'm like, just get it packaged up, get the hell out of here, and look at it when you get home. Like, I'm not even effing with it right now. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, you going through a divorce? She's like, no, my husband and I used to collect. She's like, we were going to open a bar in town, but the laws in town don't allow you to open a bar without food. So she's like, we had all these bottles that we purchased for the bar. We ended up auctioning off all the good ones. And I'm like, damn it. I'm like, oh, there's no bangers in here. But she's like, and this is what's left. And I just don't want to take it and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I'm like, okay, cool. So she's like, all right, I got some boxes. She's like, just package it all up and take it. And I was like, all right, cool. And when I'm telling you, like, package it up and take it, there was over 20 bottles. It was a ton of bottles. So I packaged them all up and had to take 3 trips out to my truck to put them in. And I'm like, can I give you some money? And she's like, no, no, not necessary. And I'm like, and I had seen some of the bottles when I was putting it in. And I'll tell you that here in a couple minutes. And I was just like, I saw some of them and I was like, can I give you some money? I'm like, come on, please, just let me give you something. She's like, no, don't worry about it. And I'm like, here. Take $100. So I gave her $100. I felt guilty like taking the bottles. I'm sure it would have been fine, but I was just like, just take $100. I'm like, whatever, do whatever you take you and your husband out for a nice dinner, take your kids out for ice cream, like whatever. I'm like, it's not cool to just take things for free. Everyone's like, my friends were just like, you should have just left the friggin' house with the bottles, shut your mouth, and just drove away. So you're never going to see her again. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I probably should have. So I was driving, had to tell my wife, hey, I'm out. I made it. Everything's good. I'm alive, not dead, not murdered, not missing my livers in a bathtub of water and ice. So I'm good to go. So got home and started digging through the box. So let me tell you some of the things that I got, and then one of my pour today in the last 10 minutes of the show or 5 minutes of the show will be one of the bottles. I ended up getting again, and I'm not no order, right? None of these. Some of these are not really special. I ended up getting a J.W. Kelly Melrose, which was a finished bourbon. I ended up getting a David Nicholson 1843, a Bower Hill Rye, a Peerless Rye, a Hudson 4-grain whiskey. I got a Jefferson Reserve store pick. That is from like 2015 or 2016. I think it's from the Big A Bottle Shop. I have not opened that yet. It's older. I have no idea. I ended up getting a Redemption 9-year bourbon. I got a 1792 Bottle and Bond store pick, which I demolished extremely quickly. That bottle was one of my favorite bottles like that I may have ever had. It was great flavor, easy drinking, wicked freaking good, very, very great finish. Really enjoyed that one. I think I also got a 1792 small batch too, because there was two 1792s. Or no, maybe there was another Bottle and Bond store pick. Oh, I may have been another Bottle and Bond store pick. I think it was, and I think I gave it away. Anyway, I'll tell you about that here in a minute. There was a Yamato cask strength. There was a Kentucky Owl Confiscated. There was a Hill Rock double cask rye. There was a Mikado 23. So if you've ever seen the Mikado 23, it's a Japanese whiskey that sells for $500 at Total Wine. I got it for free. I've heard it's trash. If you look at the reviews online, it has like a 1.5 stars, a 1.25 stars. One of these days I'll pop it and try it. I got a Russell's 10-year. Standard Russells, good stuff. I got a Bernheim 7-year. I got a Yellow Rose Port Barrel. And then those bottles I gave away to some friends. So I had my bug guy lives in the neighborhood, and he had actually commented on the Facebook post and wanted some of the stuff. But I told him, like, just come on over. I'm like, let's do this. I'm like, I'll give you some of the bottles. You give me a free month of past service. I'm like, that way I get some of these out of my house because I don't want them. And I already knew the ones I wanted to keep, so I had those set aside. So he came over, grabbed the cup, grabbed what he wanted, which was cool. And then gave some to my buddy as well. Actually, my buddy wanted some too, and he's like, can they give you some money for them? So I gave some to him, and then I had another friend too, the same thing. He's like, hey, the ones you don't want, I'll take this, this, and this. He's like, I'll throw you $50 or whatever it was. I'm like, cool. I'm like, that. So I made up my money from giving her the money. So we all got to make out a little bit, right? Each of us, all four of us, got bottles we didn't have, got bottles that we may have wanted. For extremely low cost, and everybody enjoyed it. So that everybody made out on that. So, but there were 3 bottles in there that, two of them were bangers. One of them I think is a really good banger, but two of the other ones are good. So one of them was an Old Fitzgerald 11. It was my first Old Fitz. And it was open, but whatever. I mean, yeah, some of these were open and closed too, by the way. It was an Old Fitz 11. And if you don't know Old Fitzgerald, they come in the cool decanters, really cool things. I had a pour of it. I think I still have a 2-ounce sample downstairs. I don't remember. But it's just not my jam. Not saying it's bad. Not saying it's terrible. The bottle was, I don't know, 2/3 full probably, 3/4 full. It was just not my jam. So I ended up talking to my buddy. My buddy is a huge, Michael Pints, Pipes, and Drams is a huge Old Fitzgerald fan. So we agreed on a trade for a Midwinter's Nights Dram because I love Midwinter's Nights Dram. So we agreed on that. So I ended up trading him that bottle for that. I also, and I'm going to pull it off the floor here. I also, and still have not even opened it, I got a barrel bourbon. And I know several of you that I follow on Instagram are huge barrel bourbon fans. I have a batch 14, 9 years old, 109.4 proof, bottle number 1656. It's a blend of Tennessee and Kentucky bourbon. But yeah, it's a batch 14. 9 years old. I still haven't even opened it. The plastic seal is off of the bottle, but the strip is completely intact. I was gonna open this today, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I like barrel. I've had one bottle before. The reviews on this one are pretty good. So if anybody's interested in this that listens to this, and I might actually even post it on Instagram and see. But like I don't know if I want it or not. It's one of those things that like if I do trade, maybe I'll see if somebody agrees to let me open it, take a 2-ounce sample, and then send the bottle. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see what we do with this. But it was it's still here, but it's still cool. It's a batch 14. It's one of their first batches that they released. So that's pretty cool. The next bottle is the one that I still don't think I realize the coolness of, and I gotta try to find the picture of it, not of the bottle, but the details for it, that I was pretty stoked about when I found it, or when I saw it, that I had to make sure that I snagged it and appreciated it. And I still have I've shared pours out of it, but I don't think I've had a pour of it in a hot minute. So I'm gonna hold on, bottle pop. Ooh, gosh, tight. Ooh, that was good. I'm gonna do a little pour as I'm talking. Ooh, the nose on that from the bottle. Ooh, yeah. By the way, it is 11. Oh, it's 11:54 by now. Okay, this is a long podcast, y'all. I'm sorry. Not my standard 30 to 40 minutes, but so this is a High West Bourye. Yeah, I know. It's a Bourye, but this is batch 15B12. So this is from 2015 and is one of the original batches of High West Bourye. It's 46% ABV. And it is, if you look at the batch of this and what's in it, this thing is pretty robust. So again, it's 2015. It is the batch contents is a 9-year-old straight bourbon, which is sourced from MGP, 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. There is a 10-year-old straight rye, 95% rye, 5% barley malt, sourced from MGP. There is a 16-year-old rye that is 95.5, so 95% rye, 5% barley malt from MGP. And then last but not least, another 16-year-old rye that's 80 rye, 10 corn, 10 malt, sourced from Barton. So this thing is from 2015. It is a blend of 9, 10, and 16-year-old MGP and 16-year-old Barton. And as I'm talking, my God, this room like smells of this. This is unfreaking believable. I haven't had a pour of this since I got it. And fun fact, I ended up buying a bottle of Bourye back in 2020, one of the releases, and I didn't like it. The High West one. I ended up trading it for something else. But I was pretty excited when I got this one because of the age on it, and it's one of the originals. But man, let me try a sample of it. It's not 12 yet, but hey, let's do it. So hold 1 second. Let me try a sample of this. But the smell, like I said, the nose on this, it smells the whole room up. Yeah, that's delicious. Man, that's really good. Sweet. You get the rye spice on it, which is great. Long finish. A lot of it's in my mid palate. very brown sugary. Man, that's really good. Let me try another one, see if I can get anything out of it. Again, Dram Amateur. Don't trust my tasting notes. I'm not a pro here. Let me try another sip. Man, that's really good. Get that rye kick, that rye spice, brown sugar. That's some good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So anyway, so that's a pretty cool bottle that I have. I think one of my Instagram posts I put out after I post this podcast, I'll put out pictures of the bottles that I had. But that's some good stuff. So that's a very fun bottle that sits in the back of my shelf. It's the original one with the small rabbit on it with the horns. But it's pretty neat. And it's probably, it's probably 55% full, 60% full. I still have a lot. So really good stuff. Really interesting blend. Really cool to have, right? Because I know these things are starting to get harder and harder to find. But yeah, it's a decent, very, very, very cool bottle to have. So that's it. So podcast was extremely long today. I probably could have done this in 2 episodes, but again, I have nothing to do today. So why not? So we're going to be around 50 to 55 minutes. This is going to be an hour-long podcast. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good talking to you guys. Again, I very much appreciate all your support. I know I've messaged and talked to some of you guys, and I've now either helped you start your way down the rum rabbit hole or the tequila rabbit hole. For that, I apologize. I'm going to go, I owe some of you guys samples as well. So I'm going to go clean up some bottles. I'm going to go turn some music on. I'm going to go pour some samples and get some packages ready to go out tomorrow or Monday. But yeah, thanks you guys for all the support, all the feedback. I really, really appreciate it as always. Again, this is just something for me to have as a hobby. And from what I'm seeing, you guys are enjoying it. You're appreciating it. You're giving me great feedback as well. So I really appreciate that. So cheers to all of you. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, because you're going to get this dropped on Thursday. I have to travel this week. There's some decent bars to where I'm traveling, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to try to see if I can hit up anything and find some decent pours. But I got to present at a leadership conference this week, so it's going to be a busy week for me work-wise. So, but anyways, thanks all for listening. I certainly appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have a great time, and cheers. Have a great week. Talk soon. This has been the Dram Amateur Podcast, and we thank you very much for listening and supporting the podcast.